Stickball is a very ancient game that dates back to a time in native history before the measure of calendar years. The stickball stick itself is similar to the atlatl, or spear-throwing stick. It is an extension of the human arm that adds leverage and velocity to a missile weapon, thrown object. That in itself is evidence of the antiquity of the game.
Stickball was more than a game. It was tradition, part of Chickasaw cultural identity. It was the way of life.
Stickball was very important in Chickasaw culture because not only was it a sporting event, it was a route of access to status for men and young warriors.
It encapsulated all aspects of Chickasaw culture.
A lot of the things that they do in stickball, they do in other places also, particularly when it came to war and military actions.
It was known as Little Brother of War, both because of the intensity and ferocity of the game and because it was used to resolve conflict instead of all-out battle.
There's quite a bit of history, as far as that's concerned. It's a shared game. It's a game that was shared throughout the Southeast among the Choctaws, Chickasaws, Creeks, Seminoles, and even the Cherokees played a version of it.
Stickball, they would get them ready for war. The conditioning, the skill set with the ball, picking the ball up and throwing the ball and catching the ball. So all that stuff kind of rolls into attributes that you would use during war.
Death could result, but the time-honored tradition of the game and the significance it played in Chickasaw culture did help to resolve disputes regarding hunting grounds or political disagreements.
It's absolutely the culture. I mean, these were the guys play a stickball game, break bones, clavicles, shin bones, whatever, and not hold it against somebody of the other team for doing that, or at least the cultural standard was not to hold it against them.
There are stories of epic stickball games that often resulted in deaths of participants.
The ancient game of stickball was played by men only, the most able-bodied and skillful men. But just as in war, the entire community had a role.
Champion stickball players were revered in society and were often one and the same with accomplished warriors.
East-West was really a men's game, and women, their role was on the sidelines of the game. They would be wagering, they would be gambling over the outcome, they would sing songs to encourage those players, or sometimes they would, yell, like harassing things at them to get them to play harder.
And your sticks are never supposed to touch the ground. Women are never supposed to touch your sticks. And we were taught to never drop your sticks. Don't you do that. Because, you think from traditional sense, Hopakikosh long time ago, you're playing another tribe and the tempers flare, and they will. And if it comes to that, you better have your sticks in your hand.
Today, stickball is played on a field similar in size to a football field, with a pole at each end. There are boundaries and rules, but that is not how it was played traditionally.
The only rule was you can't touch the ball with your hands. That's it. There were no boundaries. There's no such thing as out of bounds. If somebody had, the ball on his sticks and he was running with it, fair game.
Adair describes these massive ball games he witnessed both Chickasaw and Choctaw, and that was something that he was actually able to view. The ceremony was played out in the open. It could be miles long, it could be literally hundreds of players, and it could be played for days.
That was one thing about stickball. It was a very flexible sort of game when it came to that.
There was blood-kin revenge ethic to protect you, but that was about it in terms of rules or referees. Many injuries would occur, sometimes even death.
Stickball and actual warfare had many similarities. resulting from a culture that included ceremony, strategy, and thoughtful use of manpower.
And that is also in the character of a stickball game. It is that Chickasaws insist in the traditional game on fairness and equality between the sides. The sides have to be equal. Chickasaws and other southeastern natives and other Native Americans also paid a great deal of attention to the idea of balance.
You know, they would get their sticks out and you'd have 150 men on a field with no rules. When we whoop you on that field, there's no sense in getting weapons putting in your hands because we're gonna whoop you again. We're better conditioned.
It's athletic, it's social, it's ceremonial.
The game was steeped in ceremonial traditions, similar to the ceremonies that took place before warfare, including dancing, singing, and the application of body paint. Medicine men were as much a part of the game as the players.
Another reason that stickball was known as the little brother of war is because the ritual and ceremonial preparations for play were very similar to those for warfare. There was fasting, there was prayer, there was abstinence and isolation from the family. There were also medicines, plant-based medicines that were taken.
The equipment for the game included a ball made of deerskin, wrapped around a rock or other small item, and held together by deer sinew. The sticks were sacred to each player, much as their weapons would be.
This meant like a war game that we used to show the other tribes and that we were stronger than they were by our sticks, so they meant a lot back then. Back then, nobody's allowed to touch your sticks.
It's a lot of hard work to make stickball sticks. You really have to be committed to do it because there's a lot of heartbreak involved in making stickball sticks. There's a lot of failures. I remember the first time I made I attempted to make a stickball stick. I worked probably 6 hours on one stick, and then we got ready to turn it, and it just broke right in half. So that was just pretty heartbreaking to see all that hard work that I'd done, and I didn't get to use it, and the only thing it was good for is firewood.
One of the things that the medicine men would impress upon these men that were playing ball was, it was their obligation to remain serious and self-controlled and take care of business. They would be apart from their families, because if you defied, some of these or you broke the taboo, it could affect the outcome. Somebody could be hurt, somebody could die. Some folks, they wouldn't come back from war in particular, but there were also, serious consequences to losing some of these ball games where it wasn't just like the pride of the community or something on the line, but access to land and resources and other things.
Depictions from paintings drawn from life views provide a sense of the ceremonial aspect of the game. From the sheer size of the field and number of players, to the equipment, clothing, and adornments, including animal tails and collars, which many believe were worn to take on that particular animal's characteristics.
We see those collars being worn like in Catlin's depictions of Choctaw ball play. If they had maybe a clan relationship or some particular spiritual relationship with this animal, they could sort of acquire its qualities by wearing its body parts in the game. And that goes back to all this medicine, all the medicine preparation. These games were run by medicine men, and there were ritual prescriptions you had to follow. George Catlin recorded these visual representations of Choctaw ball play in Indian Territory, not too far from Fort Gibson. So what does that say, right? What does that say about the power of this game? That these people had just been torn from their homes, brought to a new place. What in the world is going to happen? But we're going to play ball.
Stickball, as a part of culture, survived removal. It survived the challenges of the 19th century in Indian Territory. It survived into the 20th century, when first American culture was under attack on all fronts. But one game in 1903, played at Buffalo Valley near Tullahoma in the Chickasaw Nation, caused it to go to sleep, as some have described it.
The one in 1903 being the greatest example, where that turned into pretty much a brawl. And it was not far from here. It was part of an annual game that they would have, and basically it was friendly. It was a traditional game. When the game began, it began just like any other game. But before long, tempers ran high or nerves got frayed to the point where one player, some say it was a Chickasaw player who struck a Choctaw player, some say the other way around.
And after that, they started fighting. Everybody started fighting. Even the people watching the game started fighting.
Light horse law enforcement intervened and broke up the brawl. But that was the last known Chickasaw-Choctaw game for decades.
The game went underground. That fight, although it was reported as the one that pretty much forced stickball, especially Chickasaw stickball, underground for some time.
It all sort of it retreated into families.
So stickball fell back into the shadows for a while, kept alive by some Chickasaw families, all but disappearing completely. It was several decades before steps would be taken to restore this tradition that had gone underground.
I would say it's being revived as much as anything else. Plus, you had people who just remembered those times and remembered people who remembered those times. The social game is another way it survived. The social game, of course, is the one where you have to have one pole right up the middle of the playing field.
Our creator looked down at us, and he would get to see our eyes as we looked up at him, looking at the fish. He'd be looking down at us and the joy that we had playing this social game.
The women can play. They can touch the ball with their hands. They can pick them up. As a matter of fact, they can cause all sorts of trouble out there.
It was a rough game, and they'd throw you down. All you had to do is laugh about it because you don't want to cry in front of all your buddies,
Jesse Lindsay and his family were one of the families who held the tradition close, keeping it ready for others to pick it up when the time came. And when it rapidly began to awaken and evolve, the foundation of the game, so ingrained in culture, was still there.
So you had Willie Lena, you had Martin Stick Sr., and you had my uncle Adam Walker. I didn't know he knew so much till I started sitting around with him.
A story about Adam, it wasn't the little brother of war, but he was legendary about playing the social game, the pole game, where the women play against the men. And heard the story that Adam could be on one side of the pole, throw the ball towards the fish, and when the ball came down, he would already be over there where the ball was going to land.
I was thinking about it, and it's probably when I was about 10 in 1965. We played what we call a pole game. They let me play that. Back then, they had the women and men playing, and the women couldn't touch the sticks back then. So I'd get stuck playing with the women because I wasn't fully grown yet. So they wouldn't let us touch a pair of sticks till we was 12 or 14 years old back then. But until then, we'd have to play with the women trying to hit the fish on the pole. Feel like you're growing up. You're becoming somebody once they give you a pair of sticks. When you could rear them back, throw your ball, and the other players could hit your sticks and try to break them right here. That was part of the game, try to break your sticks. When you get in a circle and they're trying to get the ball, they're pounding your sticks, trying to break them. But these days, if you focus on trying to break somebody's sticks in a game, these days they throw you out. My uncle said the only rule, if you was throwing too much blood at everybody when you're bleeding, they would pull you out. But as far as getting hit in the head and hurting your leg, you could limp around, and all you could handle whatever you could handle because you didn't want to come out of the game.
I think, in part, this increasing interest in stickball is sort of related to the interest in the language. I mean, it's so deeply, fundamentally Chickasaw. It's a way that when you engage with it, you get a sense of who we really are and who our ancestors really were.
And so it began. The revival of a game that had always been so important to Chickasaw culture and identity. It began slowly at first, but has been gaining greater and greater momentum. In the late 1990s, the Chickasaw Nation began a program to recruit players and to organize stickball.
I grew up involved in athletics most of my life, but first stickball game I ever played in, I had never felt an intensity level like that. It's very difficult. very difficult. And it's just like anything else, you get out of it what you put into it. The guys that play today, the skill level that they possess today, it far exceeds our skill level when we first started playing.
I was probably like 25 years old when I first played, and I had no knowledge of the game growing up. I didn't know what stickball was. I never played, never thought about playing, and it was actually here at Oklahoma is when I first played, and I didn't know anything, and they just stuck me at goalie and told me to hit the ball when it comes near and don't let them get by the pole. And so that's what I did. Most of the guys that were playing are new, and we didn't have any stick skills, and we didn't know how to pick up the ball, and we didn't know how to throw it. And so it was all kind of brand new to us.
Some years later, a passion for the game ignited, and dreams began to develop for a Chickasaw team that would compete in the Stickball World Series in Mississippi.
We do love to compete, and that's another beauty of the game when you see a team full of Chickasaw men that share that commonality. The best is yet to come.
The intertribal game of stickball, or any game of stickball, is pretty competitive, whether we're playing a social game against the women or we're playing another team, whether it be here in Oklahoma or whether it be in Mississippi. Any game's competitive.
Others joined. The group continued to grow and practice and get better.
Once I started to play, that's all I wanted to do after that since 2010. And I think a lot of that had to do with me being culturally connected more, working for the tribe in the culture department, trying to learn and speak my language. It was almost like I needed to do that too.
It takes a lot of patience and practice to become really, really good.
Every day, every chance I got, I was out there messing with my sticks, picking it up, shooting, whatever it was. I made the decision that I wanted to get better, and I worked at it to get to where I'm at now, but I'm always learning still.
The social game and cultural demonstrations have brought more women to the game as well.
Got involved with stickball about the same time my husband did, Jeremy. That was his dream. That's what he talked about constantly was, we need to get to the World Series.
I learned to play out here at Oklahoma when I was a little kid. My family would come out here for stomp dances and Chikasha reunion every year, and we played social game back then. So it was women versus men, single pole in the middle of the field.
Because you know when you play with the men, there's different rules involved. The men can't tackle the women. Sometimes accidents happen. Women get tackled by men. I mean, it's just a part of the game. There's no reason to get angry or upset about it. It's just like, get up and go on. It just happens.
Men use the sticks and the women use their hands. It was just a lot of fun. It was a social game. I got into playing East-West, which is traditionally only a men's game, but now it's become co-ed.
The traditional game is men's only. The women would have been on the sidelines, so the women over there, some of them even had sticks or bushes and hitting them and trying to get them to start playing better. As time passed, we evolved into the women being able to play with the men in a co-ed style game. And then now, within the last like 5 or 6 years, we have interest in women wanting to play just women only. We've definitely started working towards building that team.
Today, many Chickasaw women are beginning to play competitively on a new Chickasaw women's team after years of competing alongside a Choctaw team in Oklahoma.
Our goal is to take a team to Mississippi one day. That's why we're trying to work to build our team to help our women progress in their stickball abilities, and so that once we get there, we can represent ourselves, the Chickasaw Nation.
The influence of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians, who host the Stickball World Series, is important to recognize. Men and women play the traditional East-West game with all of its skill, physicality, and enthusiasm.
And just watching them play this sport, you know, it was cool. But then seeing the women come and like tackle and being able to do what the men could do, it drew my attention to the sport. I got tackled the first game by a guy. And so, you know, it was overwhelming at that point. Like, you know, do I get up? What do I do? But you just get up and keep going. You don't stop. Don't show any kind of pain on a field whatsoever.
You can tackle somebody who has the ball. That's the first thing, is they must have the ball. But when you're about to tackle them, you must drop both your sticks. And then you can tackle them. And by tackle, we mean exactly the kind of tackle you see in American football except without the pads and helmets.
My sister and I had a reputation when we were little. We were the Shackelford sisters, and you didn't want to mess with us because we were rough.
So now it's kind of a transition for these Chickasaw women to be able to use sticks.
Personally, it was really hard for me to pick up a pair of sticks. Growing up, I was always taught women don't touch sticks. Sometimes there's medicine on sticks, and if a woman touches that, it's gonna mess up that man's medicine, or he'll lose his next game.
You go on the field and you let it all out. You can just give it your all. And it's just something different out there on the field. It makes you feel something inside. You show no pain whatsoever.
Chikasha Toli, a men's competitive team playing the traditional East-West game, continues to travel to Mississippi to play in the World Series of Stickball against the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians.
Philadelphia, Mississippi, the Mississippi Choctaws, they're the barometer. And I just want to see the team continue to progress.
You know, those guys in Mississippi, they've been playing, since they were infants and toddlers, and they've been playing for years and years.
They're very competitive, they're tough, they're skilled, they're very skilled stickball players. But our skills have become a lot better as a team.
When Chikasha Toli made its first appearance at the World Series in 2018, there were milestones to be celebrated, but a dream that Jeremy Wallace, who was instrumental in helping to reorganize Chickasaw Stickball, didn't get to share.
Jeremy had passed away in 2017. All last year when I was just on the sidelines watching and showing my support, I could feel him there. The team could feel him there. So naturally, everybody played a little bit harder because they knew that he was watching over.
He was very proud to be Chickasaw, and I'm glad for that. Whenever we lost him, he's still a part of this team. We still include him. We still talk about him in the huddles.
Jeremy wasn't the only loss. Daniel Walker was another member of the team whose life was cut tragically short. But the players say, almost in unison, that the memories of their brothers are a lasting part of this team that has come so far.
They're always going to be a part of us. They're all family. We're all family. So anytime we take that field, we know they're with us, and we got their numbers on our back, so we're carrying them.
I think everyone does at the beginning of the game. Everyone is sitting thinking about it, Like, if Jeremy and Daniel was here, what would they do? To keep playing, would they give up? No, just keep going for them.
Anytime I'm stepping on the field, I'm trying to play for those guys and for our nation, our tribe, and just all of the fallen warriors before me.
The 2019 World Series appearance was a victory in many ways. The team, proud of its progress and competitive spirit, took the field with pride, with the same warrior spirit as their ancestors.
We usually do a stomp dance before our games.
Everything that they did before they went into war would be everything that they did when they played stickball. So it was almost like they were going to battle. That's how they approached it.
It just all channels down in your body and to your sticks and ready to play and become as one as your sticks. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of this team, Chikasha Toli. So it's been a long journey to this point.
It's a blessing being here, playing with the Choctaws and our ancestors. So that's a good feeling.
Win or lose, we're going to hold our head up high and continue growing the game of stickball.
The clock is ticking down until game time. Chikasha Toli team members carry the numbers 21 and 48 on their jerseys, a reminder of the spirit of their fallen brothers who are always with them.
They're my friend before this team started, and they are with us every time we walk on the field, every time we play. I think about them.
Once we start hearing the drum, get a good dance in, your adrenaline starts pumping, and you go out there and give it all you got.
In my mind, just playing with my brothers, Chikasha Puya, we are Chickasaw. We're here to represent the Chickasaw Nation.
The modern East-West game is played in 4 15-minute quarters. the game is rough.
Knock the ball down! Let's go!
The only pause in play
EMT on the north end. EMT is needed.
is when a man goes down.
Please, for the ambulance.
But play resumes as soon as a stretcher clears the field. There's very little time to catch your breath for the players or the spectators. Even if the ball goes out of bounds, another comes right back in. The sound of the ball connecting with the pole. Chikasha Toli player Michael Allen scores. Chikasha Toli is on the board, and the intensity level goes up noticeably. No pads, no helmets, no pain, until later. When this game is over after all 4 quarters, it ends with a close score. And on this field of battle, both teams join in a traditional dance. The ancestors are smiling down.
It's a hard-fought battle. We gave them all we could.
We got more physical, they got more physical, and it just looked that way, but that's your typical really intense game.
This year we played all 4 quarters, which is a big step in our eyes.
Oh man, words can't describe that feeling. It's just like, it's just something that you have to make happen right then and there. It's just, this game in Mississippi is different. Like, they've been playing it for years, and to be able to, have the skill to even attempt to try to make a point is awesome feeling. I can't describe it. Oh man, it was like slow motion. It was just like, don't miss, don't miss, don't miss. That's what I was thinking the whole time. You too.
We were told that they were going to try to knock us out by the 3rd quarter, so we earned their respect. So that says a lot, and I think it inspires everyone to want to work harder and practice harder so that we can win next year. It's always a monumental moment to be here. This is my 7th or 8th time being here, 2nd year with Toli, so it makes it even more special to be playing with my Chickasaw brothers.
It's Warriors. Come out here and put it online and put it out for your tribe and your people.
We encourage that as coaches and captains to remember our ancestors, remember where we come from, and know that this game was given to us, and that we should respect it and play with a lot of pride and respect for each other and for our ancestors as well.
It's like as soon as you play the game, you're hooked. And so you want to play as much as you can or be involved somehow, some way. It's something our ancestors gave us. It's something that's important enough that I have to make sure that it's carried on.
I wish that I would have been able to play this game when I was younger, like the kids have it now. Our youth program, focuses on 8 to 17-year-old kids, and I wish I would have been able to play the game when I was 8 years old, 9 years old, like the kids are today.
It's very important for our younger generations, and that's what Jeremy would say too. He would always wanting the younger people, the younger kids to play. Even though he is passed on, I find it very important and my responsibility to make sure that it keeps carried on through our families. Whether it's the stickball family, whether it's your own family, or the dancing community, all of that. We're all kind of intertwined.
You see people carrying around sticks nowadays instead of a softball bat. You'll see kids walking around with sticks in their hands and throwing a ball back and forth. I wish I'd have had that when I was younger.
Just seeing it continue to play because it is our game, and because it's one aspect of our culture that's really important to us.
It made me proud to see my kids start at a younger age to continue playing stickball, something that our ancestors did.
And that's what I tell my kids, we've been gifted this game and we can't let it go.
I seen a little boy the other day that had a pair of sticks. He was probably 3 years old, with those small sticks and playing, and that's where we got to start right there.